All right, welcome to the workshop. Here we are today. I'm going to share this to the Makers Movement group. I guess I'll write live now. Oops. Then posting to, oh my gosh, this is just difficult to type. ENG to YouTube. Okay, so that's done. And now, wow, incredible. Do this. Flip it that way. Nope, that won't work. All right. Posted. All right, sorry, friends. So now that's posted. I'm trying to get back to you guys. There we are. Hi, friends. So I just wanted to share it to the Makers Movement group. This is going to be, you guys all know that I'm trying to figure out how the best way to share with all of you. I used to be able to do Facebook Live, and it was great. Facebook Live was super cool because I could see your questions as I worked, and now Facebook Live, YouTube Live was great because I could see your questions. I would like to ask, is the audio okay right now? If someone could let me know if the audio is good, that'd be great, and then we can proceed. Today I'm going to take the boards that I edge routed in the last video, and I'm going to take those rough edge routed decks forward in process to the inflatable inflatable wheel. So as you all know, I've moved my workshop around, and you can see I still don't have this thing bolted to the ground because I haven't yet decided exactly where I want it to be. So for our work today, I'm going to be working with it. It's not bolted to the ground or final placed. It's nice. Wow, this tech stuff I'm not a fan. So I'll be sharing this one too. This is part 2 of an attempt at streaming for you guys. So I'm just gonna chill here for a second while we try to repopulate this kind of stuff. I get pretty fussy about tech stuff because it's hard enough to know what I'm doing half the time or where I even am. Johnny Manic, Chris Castle, it's good to see you guys. I get really emotional, and I do not always respond super well to stuff. I get pretty fussy when like live feeds drop or like that. So but here we go. We got one of these guys. If you don't have one of these, then you're going to be beveling out and finishing out with a palm sander. You're going to have squarer edges, and you're going to be fine. I think that my beginning boards when I first started, I did with the palm sander, and I just put a real like a 60 grit, a really rough grit on a palm sander, and ran my edges with that, just with an electric palm sander. A lot of work, tough on the carpal tunnels. Didn't enjoy it very well, but came out with some boards that were not horrible. They were squarer. They had squarer edges, but I have to be honest, when I see boards that are finished like that and they have those squarer edges on them, I get stoked. I really do. I get pretty excited because I think, oh, there's something that was made by hands, by someone who cares whether it works or not. And in this world filled with, hype, average people who are just trying to do a good job are just super appreciated. And so I guess for the record, I need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube before I can do these live from YouTube. I am going to keep doing these live on Facebook, then saving the video, then posting it on YouTube, and then resharing it at the cost of maybe looking like a little bit of a shill, but I've become convinced that there's value to the content that we're doing here, and so I'm going to keep going with it, and hopefully this will be good for you guys. I do hope to accrue a large following. I've been thinking about going the Patreon route because I'm not doing brand business right now. I think I'll take at least a year more before I go back into production and brand work, if I do return to it. Because right now, if I had my druthers, I would spend my work creating more workshops just through encouragement and getting more people making. So that's where that's at. But we're talking today about taking the boards that I rounded the other day. This is a continuation of edge rounding process for my new YouTube.
I got a call from somebody at the school.
Already took care of it, already returned it. Everything's good, all done.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, boy.
Do you remember anything before with it?
Yeah. All right, I'm back. Major confluence of dynamics right there. Had the network give out. I don't know if it was still recording all that time. I'm dealing with trying to do this with one of these, and then I had to move positions so that the Wi-Fi can catch signal through the beams of the house, and then I had my wonderful wife asking me about a domestic issue with our foreign exchange student's computer for school, and all the silly pandemic stuff that has to be done. It's really a moment for me, and I get very feisty. I just have to take a breath. But we're here, and we're here, and we're gonna try and do this edge rounding. We'll see what happens, okay, friends? And I'm gonna have to reposition you for the sake of what it was I had to turn back on my Wi-Fi on the phone, and we're gonna put you here, and we're gonna talk through a little bit of what's up with that. So let's do a little bit of this. Let's do a little bit of this. Turn on a fan. Get this going. Talking about taking something from a pretty darn square edge to a much nicer rounded edge. And all right, I can already tell that we have a minor glitch, and it's that my sander's got a lot of embedded material in it. So I'm going to take one of these. They're about $7 at Harbor Freight. You know, I'm also going to let's be real. I'm going to take off some of these rings, because rings are not safe when you're working. Now, I can't always take all my rings off, but I can take off some. And we may even put a mask on today. We'll see. I start flat on the front, and I just bring that first line down nice and flat. All the way from here. Oh, but first I need to clean this. Can you see how much cleaner it's getting? Look at that. Isn't that cool? So I just unloaded a whole bunch of glue and sawdust out of the grit. So, and if you keep them nice and clean, they last a lot longer too. So now I'm going to start, and I'm going to take down this level by doing it flat, and just come through like this, around that flat, then turn it up a little bit, go the other way, bring it over, and then flat again, and then back through, and down, and like that. And you know what? It's still a little square on the bottom. It's rounder on the top. I'm gonna go for it again. I'm gonna go 1, 2, and like that, and I'm gonna feel it. Oh, now it's starting to feel good. Still a little more square than what you might find. Jason Klein, your board is in this batch. I'm gonna do the other side. Still a little more square than what you might find factory, but I don't mind that because that's pretty strong. Now, that's how you do the edges that way. The tips are a whole nother deal. Again, this is how I do it. This isn't how everyone else does it. And it's not one right way or one wrong way or like that. Now, as I said before, I haven't finished off dialing in this shop, so things are a little chaotic. And when I finish dialing in the shop again, I hope to have both of my sanders running. I hope to have the backup one running with a flap sander on it. Now, for the next round, we're doing the tips, and this is important. I've got a lot to say about this. I'll talk about it in a second. Let's show it to you. Let's start. So I start with a really deep bevel on the tip, the top of the tip, so that when it's on the ground and it skitters down, it doesn't chip. This is the deep bevel. I'm going to put a deep angle on here. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3 layers revealed right there, just on the tip. So I do that, then I start on the edges. One round, a little more forward, and then the bottom. I'm going to take less off the bottom where it touches the ground, and I'm going to leave that more square. And then, this is a magic move right here. Pull, pull. All right, so now what I've got is a very beveled top for when it's on the ground skittering, it doesn't chip. Less beveled on the bottom so that there's more to wear away. I've got my rails along the sides. Did you see that pull move I did on the tail? That's the tail. Tail, tail, pull, pull. That knocked down my edges, still a little more square than most of the factory boards. Now back to the nose. Top, bevel, and the tip. The top tip has got to be beveled on my work. I bevel it very obliquely. I take quite a bit away on the top so it doesn't chip when it falls over. Don't know what grit I'm using. I'd say I'm using about an 80 or 100 grit right now, so I guess I do. So the top gets a wide bevel, and then I do the edges. Just real quick. One dip and up. Two dip and up. Or I'll go one dip around and down. Two dips around and down. Either way. It doesn't ruin a board to do a little bit light like that. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, I got a little more on that side than this side. Do I mind? Here, fix it. Boom, done. It's pretty uniform, it's pretty good, and it's nice and broad, that bevel. It'll get smoothed again. Now the bottom. See how rough it is from the router? Look at how rough it is, and that's okay. It's all right that it's rough from the router, because the router, we just use that to knock it down so we can finish it on here. And this is the great equalizer. You can really bring a lot of things into position, but I don't want to take off too much on the bottom. The bottom, just dip and raise. Dip and raise. And that, look at that. That is so much more even than it was from the, it really fixes what was bad with the router. But now time for power pulls. We're power pulling from halfway to the tip. From halfway to the tip. And boy, that knocks this edge bevel into round, and it brings it all the way out to the tip. And then we're going to do it with the top. Halfway to the tip, halfway to the tip, and now we have tamed the savage beast from the router table where we had it in the saddle and we did that rough routing. We tamed it. We brought it into just a nice chill edge, and I still would say this edge is a little more square. Oh, and then at the end of the session, you want to take that, and this is glue and wood. You want to take it while it's still warm. Look at that. You can see as it gets clean. Isn't that cool? You can take it over And this little guy, Harbor Freight, $7, worth every dime. And we just shut this down. So this deck is actually a factory second or a workshop second deck. And it's the reason it's a second is because I don't like the kick of the tail and the nose on it. And so it's going into my seconds pile, but it's actually still a good deck, probably better than a lot of other decks out there. But just because something's better than something else doesn't make me like it. That's whatever. I don't have a strong opinion. But yeah, so we did a deck. We brought a bunch of decks through the routing and showed you the rough edge reduction, and then today we showed you the edge refinement. So reduce with the router, refine with the sander, and what you want in all your process. And I'm making this video for the Makers Movement folks who are really learning how to make stuff. I'm going to fix this camera angle a little bit because I feel like being a proper YouTube feeling. The thing is, you want oh, forget it. Forget about this YouTube stuff. Just get off of this stupid thing. Come over here and talk to me where I like to talk. I'm gonna put you right here. Come on, let's talk. All right. In the process of making your skateboards, however you're set up, you want to have a system where you go from coarse changes in your make to more refined changes, so that as you go through the process, things iron out. So in my process, I'm always looking at working from reduction to refinement, the whole way through. I'll cut on a bandsaw. I'll scribe with a thick pencil, cut on a bandsaw, reduce that to the line on a 12-inch disc sander setup. A lot of people use a belt sander. I just can't afford a good enough belt sander. I've gone through a few of them, and I just use a 12-inch disc sander, and I just skill it in with a disc sander, and then I finish that off with just a quick pass on the inflatable to give myself a flat line. Then I reduce to the line, then I reduce the line, then I bring it to the router, I reduce the corner on the router, then I refine the corner on the sanding wheel. And at the sanding wheel or at the palm sander, you're going to refine that, and you just get it good enough and go, okay, there it is. Because if you did your glue right, and if you do your press times right, and if you've got that dialed, you're already ahead of the game. Stupid, the thing keeps wanting to reconnect. You're already ahead of the game. Even if you come out with rougher edges or some inconsistencies or some wobbly lines, your laminate is already, even just using Titebond 2 or even using just wood glue, if you press those things, if you roll that glue right and you press those things for long enough and let them cure, you're already way ahead of the game. You should be happy to put out what you're doing. Yeah, I know it goes in and out. This is part of the journey, I guess, right now. But I'll be reposting this to YouTube and then sharing it entirely from YouTube back into Facebook because I like to have the interaction of the comments that we can do. Maybe not so much on this one as others, but yes, I'm back. Thanks, Charles Goodson II. It's good to see you. Derek Howard, good to see you too. So anyways, as I take these through a course, when I do the rest of this stack, I'm going to be doing them in a mask. You know, a mask doesn't work as well with a beard, but I've accepted it. I use a lot of moving air. I've got fans positioned. I've got fans like this one that I pirated from. This is one of those Vornado fans, and I broke it free from its constraints, and I can pick it up and move it and put it wherever I want it in my shop. A lot of times I'll move that around. Over here I've got one of the least OSHA approved things I've ever seen. This is a house fan with no with no guards on it that I've got here, and I turn it on when I'm using my bandsaw. I also use that one and this Vornado in place when I'm using my 12-inch disc sander, and I turn this one on, and then I got my power one over here. That one's really powerful, and I've got another Vornado over here, and I've got something up in the ceiling. Yep, right over there. Yeah, there it is. This is hard to do. And with that air current, a lot of the sanding stuff just goes right out, down the workshop and out the window. This is my first fan I fabbed in. I broke apart a fan, and I mounted its switch set right over there. And, you know, again, my workshop is ridiculously rigged, but I am what I am. By the grace of God, here I am. So here we are, and we did reconnect. It's driving me nuts. So we did reducing the edge with a router, and now we did refining the edge with the sanding. And I ought to do one. Maybe I'll do a board, a personal board, and I'll use a palm sander to do my edges, and I'll show you that it's beyond okay to do a rustic edge with a palm sander and some 60 or 80 grit on a palm sander. I like pneumatic palm sanders. I have a pneumatic line and a compressor. I bought my compressor in a yard sale for like 60 bucks. I bought another one at Harbor Freight for like 125, and I have it out with my, no, for like 200 bucks I bought it, and it's out in my my motorcycle area. I pick up compressors as often as I can. I have a third compressor that's a smaller one, and all of them, and a fourth compressor that's even smaller, and all of them are useful. You don't need much, but I like running some pneumatic tools out here. And pneumatics are my favorite. I sand less than a lot of people. I do a belly sanding, and the tops, I just do a quick pass. I like rougher tops. I think grip tape sticks better, and I think that it speaks to the process, and it keeps me from repetitive stress injuries. You know, standing with the same tool for hours and hours through a batch can really hurt you, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get hurt making skateboards. You don't have to. You can make great skateboards without hurting yourself. Another person might want like a more smooth finish. I appreciate that, and I think there are also ways to do that without getting hurt. But today was about refining that edge. I'm a little bit more lunatic fringe today because the tech aspect of making these videos is nuts. I'll always complain about it, but it's fine. It's just part of what it takes to do this stuff. And yeah, actually wood shavings, you're talking about big piles of wood shavings. They're actually not that bad. This is not wood shavings, that's glue. I got a big thick skin. Oh, outdoors, yes. The dust goes out the window, and so far, all the years I've been making boards in my home workshop, I have not had anything like a mess on the side of my house or anything like maybe an environmental pollution situation. Nothing like it. The volume of sawdust, the big parts are on the floor. Can I show you guys the floor of the shop? Is everyone patient to see that? I'm just gonna do this. There is sawdust on the floor of the shop. I'm not a high volume maker, and when volumes get higher, and I'm doing a whole bunch, I do sweep out the shop or have a friend help me and sweep out the shop. I do a lot with the airline. I'll blow it all onto one side of the shop, shovel it into a bag, and it just goes out with the trash. Guys, I'm making, right now I'm not in business. I'm not selling skateboards right now. I am pretty much dedicating my work in skate to showing you how I make them and encouraging other people to start making skateboards. My view is that for the good of the skateboarding public, it would be the best thing for as many people as possible to be making skateboards locally. I just don't see a downside to the craft-made skateboard for skateboarding. I don't see it. I see only upsides. And that's a nice feeling. It's a nice thing to have something in my life that I only see upsides on. So I'm gonna stop this video and share I'll combine these two videos and share them to my, the Makers Movement is an online craft school. That's Chris Gurley just commented. Online craft school, and really that is what this is. And you can learn how to make skateboards from watching me share my way on the Happy Little Skateboards, the historic one and the new one. And oh, please guys, share my YouTube channel. So anyways, it's nice to see messages scaling in. Got to cut this off, save it, and then share it through YouTube, and then reshare it through. And thinking about doing maybe Twitch, maybe Patreon. Thinking about developing. If anyone can give me real help and actually help to develop my sharing, it would be great, because I'm a bit of a fish out of water on knowing, Gary Vaynerchuk tells me that because I have an iPhone that I can do this whole thing. I believe him. He's a smart guy. So I enjoyed talking to everybody today. I'm going to share this. I'm going to put it on the YouTube with the other one from the technical glitches. But today was about refining the edges of the skateboard. And I'm going to work my way through my rest of my pile, put on some PPE, and do the rest of this. And looks like the rain's holding off for a few more hours, so maybe I'll get a chance to ride my motorcycle. Everything's a little bit wet for skateboarding. Thanks, everybody, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks again for being with me.